relationships among people using different systems that can, we had a session yesterday for people in local currency systems, and one of the discussion groups was paper versus plastic, and then they come up with no-brainer, it's paper or whatever, just both together is great. In terms of the retail relations, which is what we've been calling it in Ithaca, some of the other systems have been calling it B2B, business to business, and that's something that is a lot of the wisdom that Paul had when he first started Ithaca Hours. He got a critical mass of a well-balanced mix of retailers in the system, and that's been the big challenge. So if there are ways that we can talk about getting that functional critical mass of businesses connecting with each other, that just...
Okay, we're just looking for the agenda items, not the discussion now.
So I'd say just echoing Paul's.
All right. Let's see, Michael. Opens money is...
Global domain namespace.
Global, okay. Christine, for $10, what would be your agenda item?
I think for $10, it really is this question of bridging the core economy to the market economy. The idea of building, how does building social capital relate to building all the other kinds of capital that we're talking about? And our focus is social capital. And I know it is too for the other groups, but ours is so explicitly that I would like to see how those bridge.
Okay, so the connections between more $10 systems and credit-based systems, more commercial transactions. Yeah. All right, others, other sponsors, Liberty Dollars?
The coordination between the various currencies. You see how to extend your buying power by having some medium of interchange between the alternative currencies. Coordination between alternative currencies?
Different systems and exchanges between different systems. Gerald from
the two that Paul said are really central to what we're doing, and it sounds like relevant whether it's printed money or cyber money. So that's a general thing. I don't want to get into details of different currency type issues, but the broader things. So Paul's points are excellent. How to make it fun and cultural, and how to keep the business stimulated.
Okay, the other co-sponsors, what we're doing is first getting agenda items from co-sponsors, and then we'll open up for agenda items from other people here. So is someone representing Access Foundation here? They didn't call in an agenda item.
Sorry, he's not here yet, but he was supposed to be here, so maybe he's still sleeping. He was very tired.
He's still coming.
But I can try to be like the memory. I can try to be like the memory of the Access Foundation right now, and transmit what has been said to Bernard and all the staff there.
Okay. Did you come up with an agenda item for it?
Not really, but I've been to other meetings with the Access Foundation, the community of practice meetings. So
I would like to jump in there because I was with those meetings too. And I really think that they would put forth as an agenda item the formation of a sort of a community with a strategy for forwarding the whole, the local currencies as a whole, and how can we work as a whole? I would say that. Yeah.
Very good.
Okay.
Open the floor to other agenda items from non-co-sponsoring Douglas.
Wendy Brower from the Green Map system. There's 250 Green Map team or communities all around the world, and there's a lot in the Northeast. I think probably each one would probably match the communities that you're from. One of the ways of getting a holistic view, I mean, of all the groups that are out there is to put them on a map. And also with many groups are working with GIS, so you can layer a lot of your functions. So what Wendy suggested to me was that if groups here want to link with green map groups, and see what green map groups would like to have is they'd like to have the expertise of local currencies and local accounting. They'd like to have that brought into what they're doing, so that
So the agenda item is green mapping?
Yeah.
We're just doing agenda items, not discussion, please. Other agenda items? Yes.
If anybody's interested in doing an anthology of different aspects of local currencies, some folks at NC Plenty as well as Baltimore Hours have been putting that idea out, so just wanted to throw that out as an agenda item.
I guess as an agenda item, it would be identifying communities of practice, not necessarily currency, to ask to begin this, because I'm thinking as a member of School of Living, what our group would want was we would like to see intentional communities find a currency that they can use, maybe linking with the IFC. And I hear other people here saying, let's identify ways to get the social equity people linked with the market currency people.
So a sector currency.
Linking communities of practice, or identifying them and introducing currencies to groups that will work.
Of particular sectors, so targeting sectors. Yes.
How do we connect the movement of complementary currencies in Europe with what you do here in North America?
Europe, North American Alliance. Okay.
So let's say
Europe and Japan.
Represent pharmacology, but so next, I'd like to look for more close contact with them.
Great. Other agenda items for this meeting? Marianne, you're in control.
Yeah, really. I'd like us to think about production. I don't think we've talked about that at all, really. You mentioned it in your closing words last night. Can you just think about that?
Good. Yes.
Strategies for sharing information and best practice.
Okay, strategies for sharing practice. Yeah, best practice. Not various, so yeah. You've already had your turn, Douglas.
I was gonna throw in just one more thing, though, was the concept of organization and equity, and I think there has to be recognition for all the work that you guys have been doing.
Yes.
The linking of microcurrencies with macroeconomic.
Macro linking.
I noticed over the weekend a lack of consensus on what usury does and doesn't do. And if we're going to work with money, one of the things we need to do is have some kind of dialogue around usury. Because some people said, some people limit it, some people get rid of it, and some people care. So is that on the agenda for discussion?
You've had a chance, let's see, any other agenda items?
The best practice for social networking tools to utilize the internet tools and new tools that are provided, that are available through the internet and
to link groups?
To link groups and within the groups, so people can find the resources, can find their needs.
Christine put that on for you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah?
I think what Sergio is saying is rather different, actually. Okay. Yeah. I said, see a common purpose.
The common structure.
So common purpose, or a sense of the collectivity, of the whole, of all these different pieces.
What I was thinking is to plan a conference in which all these techies who care have been providing the best tools available right now. It's an explosion of tools available in the internet that we can use, like Madonna did the presentation for $10 and show us the tip of the iceberg of what can be done.
Marianne has good tools in the, how can we work and
Through the internet, utilizing the internet.
Yes, Don.
Yes, just the heading, outside support. I think it would be desirable if we had the opportunity to just sort of focus a little bit of the combined knowledge here on the need for outside organisations, political and otherwise, to at least understand what we're doing and therefore, if possible, get their support.
So, non-local currency activists support, so outside support. Other agenda items for this meeting?
Yeah.
Yes.
To make a scheme to cooperate with a non-profit organization and to make a prosumers association within the local currencies.
Say that again.
Association of prosumers, producers, consumers, and prosumers. Okay, prosumers associations.
Prosumers Association.
Yeah.
That's producers, consumers, correct? Okay.
It's a bit about that because in Argentina it's a quite popular term.
Other agenda items? Yes.
Is there one up there about political action yet?
No.
I think that's between
And I was just last night imagining Margaret Kennedy's exponential growth curve with interest and tried to imagine a benign version of that, which would represent the exponential growth of consciousness around community currencies. So we thought at the bottom of the curve as the last 20 years, the first generation of community currencies. What does the next part of the curve, the exponential growth, look like?
Sounds like a research project, not an agenda item for this meeting. Margaret?
Looking quickly through this potential topics list that you have, there are a lot of very important things here, but the one thing that I remember you and I had spoken on the phone beforehand, I think could address these things, because the kind of energy that's in the room is on a different level than some of these nuts and bolts. So I would like to suggest revitalizing a listserv so that people could connect with each other around these more focused nitty-gritty questions after we leave, and we can make sure that what we leave with today is more of the energy and some of the newer strategies, but with a revitalized listserv so we can connect on some of these other also important topics.
Perfect, except that a wiki framework would be so much more manageable in terms of the ability to digest.
Is that a web-based?
It's an interactive web-based where you can edit the pages so you get an updated front end rather than having to drag through interminable archives.
What Michael is mentioning is the technology that we use that collects and aggregates collective wisdom. So, each one is coming one after another and adding something, and experience gets accumulated, but in, easy to read pages. So it's available. I'm not going to talk about it now. There's a full agenda, but come to Michael or me if you want to talk about that, and we're available for that.
Just the transitioner.org. Is that?
No, that's actually part of the whole tool.
Sorry. Okay, sorry.
And I think that's already on there.
All right, so I'm just going to put the transitioner.org under that, just so that everybody can get at least that.
Someone just yes.
Just the question process, how long do we want the meeting to go on? Are we going to amalgamate? This could be a very long meeting.
Yeah.
Lots of great ideas, but...
We have to 11. That's when we set. So they're 2 hours from now. So we need to divide this up into segments for 2 hours. But I should have announced all bags must be out of the room by noon. So if your bags are still in your room, please do leave at 11:30, no later, to
What do we do with the keys?
You can bring them here, and Julie's still up at Olin, okay? Yeah, if you have them now, why don't you leave them on that back table? And then, oh, look, we're collecting keys. This is great. Every key is $50. You know?
Take all the currencies?
So let's take a look at what we have here and see how we can divide it up. I should have had sketch tape. Anyone have tape in their briefcases?
This wall would work really well.
That wall would work really well.
And if we just did a rehash of this room quickly, we could create a sort of a double circuit around a U shape with that wall, and the paper would be up and we'd be able to work and write better.
These are particular to the inner workings. This is relationships. This looks like special project, maybe someone's special research project and not for this discussion. So networking, this is dear to me, of course, the issue of how to do more. Yeah? Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, also,
can I say something, please?
Let's move up more.
Can I just say something about what just took place in terms of yin principles, yang principles? This has changed the whole dynamic of this discussion of this dialogue. We are now an audience separated by a table from the people who are talking to us. In terms of any Freudian ideology or anything, what's happened here has changed our relationships, changed the dynamic.
Let's go
and
back
I
to the
just want to
circle.
say yin-yang principles.
But the thing
I'm facing backs now.
We can do other things here though, because the yin-yang piece is the working of it together. So this part is good for us to get the agenda going, and once we've solved that, let's put it back into a circle so that we actually do the work in the form of the yin. But there's a validity to both of the pieces.
Depends what you want in terms of participation in this part of it.
All right, then Michael, you made a huge mistake in suggesting.
Michael and I have a huge amount to contribute, and from very different points of view, and we know this of each other, and we've been there before. You know, I'm the people, you know, and your understanding of systems is amazing, but I'm just giving the emotional reaction to what happened.
If I could add to the proposition I made was that it should be brought forward, that this should be denser at the front, that there should not be conversations going on in the background because that breaks the pattern, that if you cannot see people's faces, you should come forward here where you do feel comfortable with the space.
I don't feel comfortable standing and facing the
right.
audience.
No, I'm not asking that. I'm suggesting
What would people like to do? Go back to a circle or rearrange this and move up forward?
It was just, I suggest a third alternative.
Yeah.
Something that we did when we had a similar forum in one of the workshops for local currencies to exchange experiences and ideas. We used a format called open space, which means we take a list of topics that we've already done the first part of it, which is come up with topics we want to talk about, and then what you do is you combine them into subtopics, and then people who want to talk about particular topics go to small groups to discuss those topics. We could have 3 or 4 topics being discussed at a time. We could then have a break and rearrange and do the other half. Or you could have a topic go on for a while and people move from group to group. It sounds a little chaotic, but It actually works very well because everybody in a group is in that group because they want to talk about the topic in that group. And it's very focused and very efficient when you're in
Okay,
that
we have
group.
3 proposals. Do we have a 4th?
No, just add to that, and then those people, spokesperson.
You have one person taking notes, somebody else kind of moderating it, and then you report out to everybody.
Mary Beth.
In my experience in the session, the open spaces model worked very well.
Yes.
Okay.
And I say this space is too small for this crowd and we should storm the lunchroom.
Not the lunchroom, but maybe we can go to Olin, but then not.
It could happen here plus
We
outside.
have a limited amount of time.
Yeah, it could happen here with one group outside.
All right, I have 4 proposals on the table. Back to a circle, keep this format. Open space, move open space. Back to the circle. How many hands? Keep this arrangement. How many hands? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, 12. Open space here. 1, 2, 3, 4.
How do you
5,
differentiate
6, 7,
between
8,
keeping,
9.
what's the difference?
Okay, we've got open space here. So we're now moving into an open space meeting. Margaret and Marianne, will you conduct it?
Okay. I have never conducted an open space meeting.
All right, Mary Beth?
Oh, no, Mary Beth is one generation behind me. I've participated in it twice, one of which was the same one that was Mary Beth's
Is there
first
anyone
exposure.
here who's had experience in conducting an open space meeting?
Yeah, no, it's easy. It's no big deal, Susan. We can wing it, which is one of the rules of open space. Okay.
Marianne and Margaret.
Okay, I'm going to delegate Marianne to continue with what she was starting to do, which was rearrange topics. I want to explain open space is normally used by groups in retreats. It often goes on for a couple of days. It's when you decide mission statements, all kinds of global things. We have done it, the 2 times I've done it, it's been compacted. In one case, we had 3 hours, including a meal. We had 50 minutes in our workshop session. So we can either have 2 sessions or we can have 1 long session. I'm going to put that to the group. In terms of the number of topics, do most of you have one thing you're really burning to talk about and you want to spend the whole time? Or do most of you have 2 or 3 or 4 things you'd like to be able to touch on? Because if most of you have more than 2 things you want to talk about, we should try for 2 sessions. So I'm going to do what Susan did, ask for a show of hands. How many people have only 1 or 2 things they really want to focus on? I'd say about a third of you. How many people have 3 or more things they'd like to be able to talk about this morning? Okay. A lot of you didn't raise your hands at all. I would say that we should go with a session, 1 session that's going to last the entire time. I'm going to put this up so it's in writing, so everybody feels very comfortable with it. This is the basic principle behind open space. You walk to the groups that are discussing what you want to discuss. At any point, that discussion goes somewhere that's no longer interesting you. No offense to anybody. You are free to get up and walk and move to another group. Yes?
I better open my big mouth. Some of us may not have voted because we don't quite understand what the vote was about. And maybe that's just me, but
Okay,
again,
it
maybe
means we're
I'm...
going to have multiple topics discussed at the same time with a note keeper. Every group, make sure the first thing you do is designate a note keeper, and you're going to have a moderator, usually the person who suggested the topic. Sometimes somebody suggests a topic, a group forms around that topic, but the person who suggested that topic says, I really want to talk about this other thing, goes to a different group. So just very first thing when you find your group in your space, note taker and a moderator who makes sure that nobody starts giving lectures within the group. If the topic migrates somewhere else, that's okay, but changing what you're talking about means some people may follow the law of 2 feet and walk away from there. I think the main thing to think about is a combination of options 3 and 4, as Susan put it out, and that is whether there are 4 corners to this room. I think in terms of people wanted the longer session, which means I think that forces us in to not just in this room, because I think that means more than 4 topics. Are there people, because not everybody does, are there people who feel comfortable having their discussion group outside if they're nearby?
We have a second room.
Okay, and how big is the second room? Okay, perfect, Susan, because people would rather have longer times, which means more topics simultaneously. Okay, so the only thing we need to do before you get yourselves where you want to be is finalize the topics and then say where those topics are going to occur.
We have numbers for tables and stuff too, so those are all.
You have numbers for...
There were table numbers before, so you can look around the...
Okay, and how high up do the numbers go?
6.
Okay, it's not the end of the world if we have to come up with more than 6. So let's have 1 through 4 in this room and anything, the other room's bigger, 1 through 4 in the other and anything else in here. Okay, generating and maintaining excitement. Is that closely connected to some of the tools that we were talking about? Yes.
I would say that promoting to new audiences is different from linking existing currency.
Yes.
So there's a promoting to new audience, finding new audiences, and then linking making existing links.
Does that make sense to people as 2 key topics? Yes.
Yes, I don't recollect us being asked as to whether we wanted to talk to the whole group or to break up into sessions.
When we chose open space, we chose to break up into sessions. The note taker is very important because we come back together, report out from each group, and then can talk as a whole group. If you feel like you wanted to talk to the whole group, then just go to the group that's talking about what you're most interested in.
I'm sorry, if you're interested in what I feel that one of the main benefits of coming to a conference is being able to draw on the expertise on particular topics of the whole group, not just talking to a subgroup.
Right. Which is why this topic of tools, of how we stay in touch with each other, how we communicate nitty-gritty, has been tagged as one of the important topics. And I think, again, the generating and maintaining excitement has a subtext of generating and maintaining connections. What you're talking about is more than what could happen in a session this morning. But it's what can come out of the session. Yes,
just move forward.
Yes, okay. Back to the generating and maintaining excitement. Does somebody want to rephrase that in a way that is distinct from the tools that connect us? And we did just have the comment that there is basically proselytizing, spreading the word to new people. Can we rewrite that as promoting to new audiences? Okay. It may be nobody shows up at that.
Tools.
Okay. Yeah, and the tools include internet listservs, websites, and so on. Okay. Retail relations, business to business. Okay, so let's just put that number 1 because just the numbers are arbitrary. It's the sequence. Business to business. Promoting connections between businesses within local economies, and then again somewhere else we had regional and, getting our systems connected to each other. Is this one solidifying relationships between groups? Is this related to the tool question? As opposed to having our various economic systems able to interact? Those are two different questions. Which was this referring to?
Interaction between the existing monetary systems that we develop. Relationships between the currencies, even our currencies.
Okay, so you're talking about currency to currency. Okay. As opposed to organization to organization. Okay.
I would suggest that macro, micro,
At which, yes, yeah. Yeah, no, we have that. And I think another similar thing, and again, if a group doesn't form around what you want, go to something that's close by. Another kind of linkage is, again, within a community, this came out as time dollars and market currency, but I think any currency form has the question of how do we connect with the other forms of currency in our community. So, Christine, would you feel comfortable with that as a slight expansion of that? Connections between fill in your currency and the market currency? Or do you mean time dollars in particular because of the social?
She's having social equity.
Okay. Then let's leave that exactly the way it is, understanding that we're talking about.
If you put a line through time dollars, and it's more about social, I call it social capital, but it's about our social relationships, the yin.
Okay.
Yeah,
no.
Would you say that's distinct from this? We're beginning to qualify the relationships now. We've got to.
No, it is distinct because I know it's an important topic to all those of us running paper currencies want to tap into the social capital too. So yes, it's important.
You just use a red pen. Can you please put the number of each item and which page it will go?
That's happening over here.
Yeah, but if you can do it in that sheet.
Oh, you mean so that we know where this goes to?
So we can relate.
Okay. So number tools is okay. Is this stuff? Okay, 2 went to there. 1 is
promoting new audience, business to business.
Okay, so and that kind of came out of here.
Retail relations.
Okay, business to business was what number?
1.
Oh, no. That's those are not related to each other. Business to business.
Promoting new audiences is not related to
No, business to business is its own topic. So let's make it number 5. Okay, so promoting to new audiences is number 1. Number 2 is the tools. Number 3 is, okay, no, we're not doing these categories. I'm sorry, these topics are, each is a topic. So,
So how many?
Okay, the macro micro linking should be another topic. So that gets us up to 6. The macro micro linking referred to.
Connection between the.
Okay. Okay. The global domain namespace, is that something that's part of tools?
No, it's in relationships.
Relationships between currencies?
Yeah.
Okay, so that becomes a subtopic, so that also went to 3. Okay, connections between social capital and market currency. We renamed it, we didn't number it yet, right? So we're up to number 7, would be connections between social capital and market currency.
No, that's number 4.
Is that number 4? Oh, okay, it made it there. Oh, good. Can change that to a 4. Okay, how can we work collectively for common purpose? That's our tools again, and that's number 2. Green mapping is a completely distinct topic. It's part of tools.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's green mapping.
Yeah. Okay. Anthology is.
That's reaching new audiences, what you said.
Yes.
Okay, so that's a sub. Okay, Targeting sectors?
That was, to me, that was, I guess, reaching new audiences because.
Well, now reaching new audiences, there are two things. One is we have some kind of local alternative system. We want to get more people in our community into it. That's one aspect of reaching new audiences.
I was the person that suggested targeting sectors, and what I meant by that was, for example, the intentional communities. A group that could, that local currencies could be easily introduced there.
So that was the second half of what I was trying to clarify. So yeah, now I recall. So it's sectors globally. I mean, intentional communities exist everywhere.
And they're not doing it yet, so that's promoting to new audiences.
Okay, right. Okay, great. Okay.
Could you just say it one more time so I can write it clearly? Like 3 words.
Targeting new audiences.
But she meant by sectors, so it's like by interest group. Okay, production, and again, this is, like the small farmers, and having our local economies actually include producing goods and services.
Margaret, what I suggest is, remember the tool in open space, let the person who proposed that topic to pitch about it.
Right, yes.
Because there are so many topics that for you try to lobby
We're
for
almost
it.
through, so production, whoever proposed.
Production.
Pardon?
I pitched production.
Okay, I think it's an issue all by itself, so we're up to number 8. Is that correct?
Okay, I'm going to add it here.
And unless you think it's a subset of something else. Okay.
Well, I think it relates to a lot of the other.
Oh, well, they all relate. That's why we're here. And that's why we're going to report out. Okay, the strategies for sharing best practice is part of tools. Yes? And I was the person who I'm one of the people who suggested. Okay. Questions of interest in usury, that is a distinct topic.
Number 9.
Usury would be number 9. Okay, the need for outside support. Unless somebody disagrees, I think that's a unique topic.
Yeah, I think the question of interest in usury is an integral part of the macro and micro question. I don't think you can, because can't separate them. You have to talk about
And he pitched it, so.
Good. If you pitched it and that's the context, you don't, even if topics are related, you don't want to overload a topic, but.
Now, I would say that's, does anyone disagree that they're linked?
Okay, so whoever pitched macro,
Six.
micro feels comfortable, because both people, the person who pitched this feels comfortable, who pitched macro, micro? Or did we rephrase?
I think we're fine with 6.
Okay.
So put usury interest at 6.
Okay. The need for outside support.
I suggested that, but I'm fairly easy as to where it's fitted in, as long as there's the opportunity, as it were, for us to focus on it.
Well, no, but outside, what do you mean? Who needs outside support? Who's getting it from where?
Several speakers referred to the need to cooperate and have our ideas more widely understood. And as Wergel illustrated the experiment in Austria, if you don't have the support of your local and central government, then you're likely to have the rug pulled out from underneath you and immediately look like being successful. So, as I see it, an important aspect is not only sharing your objectives and ideas with other organisations which may have overlapping interests, but also to get support from your local government and elsewhere, indeed, even a political party if necessary, so that if and when they become the government, you've got...
So it's support from other organisations as opposed to financial support?
Yep.
Okay. And did you feel that was part of promoting to new audiences?
Yes, I think it could reasonably come under that.
Okay, good.
I think it goes rather with relationships and strategies, critical relationships.
Well, but you know what? It's a different kind of relationship. We're not doing a taxonomy. We're talking about discussion groups, and I think it's a different kind of discussion than number 6 would have, or that number 3 would have. And, you know, again, people are the law of 2 feet. If people don't like the way they just will go where they want to go, and if nobody's there, nobody's there. If it gets talked about there, it gets talked about there. So, nonprofit strategy, such as a prosumers, meaning producers and consumers together. So it's a nonprofit strategy to promote prosumerism.
I think the nonprofit strategy would be, this is part of that.
Do the people see the prosumers as part of production?
Yes.
Okay, good. Political action, which is connected perhaps. Okay, so that's what we were just talking about with number 1. So recognizing that one of the new audiences to be promoted to are political sectors. Revitalizing the listserv is a tool, yes?
Margaret, we need one more category, please.
Yes.
Just a random one for people who don't want to go to a category. We just have number 11 is random.
Okay, I don't think we're up to 10. Or did you on purpose pick an odd number, a number there?
Whatever. Just random.
Because did we even end up with 9? I think we only got up to 8. Yeah. Okay.
No, we need a 7. Hey, 7 is perfect for random.
7 right. 7 got left out. So 7 is random.
It's perfect.
Just people to people. Okay?
Let's have 7 in this room.
Have 7 what?
Right here. We have 7 right here.
Well, we're going to have more than one group right here. Okay, so Susan, is the other room larger than this one?
The other room has sections. So, yes.
Okay, here's in my car. We need a way of people remembering when they get to their designated spot what topic that spot has. Well, what I'm going to ask is that, oh, you mean just do a really big one for each one?
A quarter of this.
Okay. Well, if somebody has notebook paper already, that would save time. But I'm just going to arbitrarily go through this. Group number 1 is going to meet in that area. Group number 2 is going to meet back towards the fireplace. Group number 3 is going to meet over there. Yeah, okay, and the table card numbers are starting that way. Group number 4 is going to, I haven't seen the room. Susan, are you familiar enough with the other room to assign 4 through 7? Okay, so it is time for the law of 2 feet to start going into operation. If you're interested in starting with topics 1 through 3, find the right corner of this room. If you're interested in topics 4 through 7, you can go to the next room. I will float.
You transcribe like 1.
And you need a 6 and a 7 with the last 2 right down the wall.
So what I'm suggesting is that these teams exist already. They already have the expertise, but what they would like people who know about local currencies to come into them and to help organize the economies that they're mapping with local currency tools. Or I'm saying local currency, but you know what I mean by social accounting tools. And so it seems like a good mix that they already have they already know the mapping techniques. They already have sometimes university departments or other they might already have the softwares to do the mapping, and that can help get our message out to the communities and to each other. Like actually the Sindrani, he asked me if we could map Gandhian projects around the world. And that's actually quite a feasible thing. And that's one of our community practices here is Gandhian projects, of course they're interested in currency concepts, and so but the mapping allows us to map different aspects of what we're doing, and then even create a total so that people who want to. It's a good indexing tool. It's a lot better than working with sheets and sheets of paper. It just allows the
One observation: the green maps that I have seen are for stores. For physical, so you were to find in New York City a cooperative, where to find an organic grocer and things like that. What you're talking is a new dimension of green maps, which is to define the regions in which a Gandhian project has influence or in which a $10 has influence. So what you're talking is not in a specific store or in a specific location, but you're talking about coloring a section of the geography, the geographical influence of a certain project.
Oh, yeah.
Correct?
Well, see, in Montreal, we've done both stores, businesses, industries, and regions. So we've done all different kinds of mapping. So,
thoughts perspective.
Okay. I think the first thing I'd put in is that the two models that are for discussion here, that is a carrier currency between currency systems, or basically a field space in which many systems can exist, are diverse but mutually compatible. That is to say, a global namespacing would support what you're talking about, but it also makes it largely irrelevant. Unnecessary, frankly, but not impossible and absolutely available to anybody who wanted to do it that way. But that's really all there is to that.
Well, whether it makes it obsolete is
not obsolete, no,
or makes it unnecessary is.
It would be necessary for people who feel the need to do it that way, if you know what I mean.
It's for there to be two different options, right?
Yes, some people would.
It's quite different from implementing.
Well, I would say a combination. I mean, part of the Green Party 10 key values are all the stuff we're talking about that we want local currencies to do.
Let me just put one more point in my vision and then I'll be quiet.
Yeah.
My vision suggests that as a group, we get our own search engine. We can get them for about $11,000. We can have everybody that has any passion to have their own profile on that search engine. We control who gets on and who gets off, and we can eliminate anybody who we don't like, so we can keep it clean. We can put on the information that will support any of the passions we have. It doesn't matter which one. And it's not a local currency, it's a vertical currency. It's a vertical system to incorporate all of the web systems in the world. And it's all done with one search engine that we own and operate. I'm doing this now with the vertical concept of the alternative health industry. I want all chiropractors, naturopaths, and so on to be the providers. And we use local currency in every community to bring the services to the people who can't afford it. And I'm going to have both types of currencies. It doesn't matter which ones you have. Your own currency can be incorporated immediately because we're going to have the social currency and the time dollar currency. They're going to be produced as in Toronto, where they cannot be counterfeited. They will have its halo things, okay? So we're going to have better currency than exists with the federal government bond, cash. Right now in Canada, we are afraid to take a $50 bill. $20 bills can be counterfeit, $5 bills can be counterfeit. We can have a currency that is actually safer to use than government currency. And with this system, the currency is international because we go from one political region to another. And if you have a region like Hamilton, for example, with 4 elected members of parliament, you organize the providers of service by the community, the market region. If you're a patient and you want somebody to give you a consultation or help in, say, breast cancer, you cover the whole market area. But the individual as a public, as a member, voting member.
So
you are registered bilateral participant.
Yeah. The thing is, like, I mean, we need to figure out how to support, get people involved in the currency itself. I mean, I think it's before, I mean,
that becomes very easy. The currency, because it cannot be counterfeited, can be sold and distributed as a tool. It doesn't have to be given away. We can distribute it as a distributor and a wholesaler.
But that's what I do. I'm trying to get local currency in circulation, so it's not easy. It's hard to do that. So I want to hear from people. What's the single? Just give me one really good way to promote my local currency. The most successful way you've ever found. We'll just say it, and that's the kind of stuff I need because we're all trying to do that.
I'd like to tell that on this issue. We arrived to the parliament, to the national parliament, when there were 6 million people on the streets. The state and the senators and deputies decided it's time to put our hands on. We have to legislate, we have to make laws about it. And the issue was not so much the cooperative work of groups, but the issue of money, of course. And this was a critical issue because they couldn't get into an agreement about who would issue, who would produce, how the cost, etc. But what I want to read is that it's not an accident that green parties are getting involved with this, because if you read Margaret Kennedy book, you see ecology, pro-lovers work, they are all very connected. And in Brazil, the first real local currency issued by a mayor, not by a community, by a mayor, was from a green party. But he had no idea, he didn't know you, he knew nothing. It was inspiring, that's quite natural. So I think, I don't know if it's true for all countries, but as community currencies has to do with trust, one critical issue to any audience is that you have to choose allies or partners that are, in which trust is not a problem. So in Argentina, we cannot do this with politicians and bankers. The rest are, you can get it. But this is very interesting. In Brazil, the only political party that was never involved in a scandal of corruption is the Green Party.
Will it fade away?
Yeah.
If they don't use it?
I'd be happy if you call it anything but interest, because I know interest grows. So call it negative service fee, call it negative something, but interest grows.
It's a fee for having a positive balance.
Yeah. So call it a fee. Don't call it interest. Call it a fee.
Yes.
That's not interest. That's not interest.
Well, I mean, you can have, let's say, a monthly account maintenance fee, but the idea that you've suggested was tried in a Let's group in Scotland. I mean, that people who had a surplus in their accounts and weren't spending it down, they were charged a fee on that, a demurrage charge.
They wouldn't get a chance to charge me a fee because I lent it to somebody else for credits. In the same system,
yeah.
They wouldn't get a chance to charge me a fee because I'd be lending it out for credits.
Well, that would be good. Yeah.
Of course. People don't understand that.
He'll do that for you. He's your banker.
Now, but the problem with that is that the people who have earned credits are obviously of value to the system, even though because they've provided work or goods for those credits. So are you penalising your most valuable members if you do it that way?
I don't think
the people who, if you can compare it with the society as a whole also. If people have incomes and not using these incomes for buying goods and services, then they cause unemployment within the society. And this is if their income is came by work or if it's come by interest or dividends or whatever. So money should be used.
Yeah. But you would reward him if he banked with you. You would reward him for being staying in the flag.
Well, Keynes tried at the Bretton Woods negotiations to put forward an that countries that have a constant inflow of money should transfer part of this inflow back to countries having a constant outflow, because then was an imbalance in the conditions between these countries, and it should be corrected. But this was voted down by the United States.
That's macro stuff, and before we get to macro stuff, we better be doing this at the micro level.
Yes.
We better be doing this in our local lead systems first. Then it's going to go up to the macro. Never going to go macro down.
Yes.
Section of the family. If we go from the nurturant family model, or we go from the strict father family value, and that's the foundation of whether you move off in the conservative side or you move off into the liberal side. What's the name of the book again? Moral Politics by George Lakoff. And I think that you're exactly right. And what he made me realize is that our political arena is defined by our understanding of the family. And that's going to be exactly true for the monetary arena too. And like you're saying, the values. It's exactly right.
And the families can be defined currently as the people in our neighborhood. The people, I'm thinking about my personal history is one of leaving places. The way I grew up, the way that my parents treated me growing up, and now my desire to recreate some kind of adoptive family in the community that I live in. My parents are alive. I'm in good touch with my sister. I have good relationships with them. That's not what it's about. But they all live thousands of miles away from me. So my mother wasn't there to help me change the diapers of my child when he was a baby. And now I have a church. I go to church, not because I believe in the person in the pew's idea of God who is sitting next to me, but because there's a connection that I'm making with a new kind of family. Exactly. And strengthening those agreements.
I would be curious to know if people, I feel like I come here and find this instant community because we have so much shared. What I'm struggling with is my neighborhood community, and I'm working on it. At the same time, I have communities by virtue of my profession, this situation, and I am making some inroads in that, in the community, geographical community, and I'm curious about other people and how they're dealing with that, bringing back that community in their geographic area.
Well, I'm starting an intentional community. That's one way.
And I would say that is really what Time Dollars is most completely about, is creating geographical community. And I would like to add to that how strange that often seems, because it's almost going in the reverse direction of history,
Exactly.
that history is
Right.
going towards a dissolution of geographic community in favor of virtual and non-geographic. So it's very strange for us, because here we are, I will be honest, we're going around promoting geographical community, and we ourselves in our little white house in the corner of 39th and Livingston hardly interconnect with our neighbors at all. We really don't, and I keep saying I've got to start up a Time Dollar group in my neighborhood, but I haven't yet done it.
What if we started a
Can I
potluck?
just react to that? Because I have I'm almost ready to leave this group, because what I'm hearing about is people building their own private ideal communities. And the community I work with and live in and reflected in our group is the breaking down of barriers and of isolated communities. And I want to go and hear how you get to new communities and bring them into this sense of community, neighborhood, etc. And I agree with everything that people are saying, but I want a multiplicity of people within this group, and we have set up a currency based on the Time Dollars principles, but with some of the Let's things based on the community's expression of its needs and making it as flexible as possible. And so I feel I'm going in different directions from what I'm hearing.
I'm not understanding why are you saying that?
But because it sounds as though people are in a sense building up groups that it's sounding a bit isolated and ideal without my hearing the sort of interconnectedness. I was going to go to group 4 because it was dealing with the social capital issues, you know, the people who can't get shoes, and what that group is doing about first of all educating people to be able to even understand what that community is and what possible values there could be, and second of all making those values practical. Right. You know, and one of the things about time dollars for me is it doesn't do something crucial, which is to put a little money into somebody's pocket at the end of the month when they aren't paying their rent and aren't feeding their children. And this is the system that I need personally and my friends need.
Yeah,
to the whole group, I would say no, because I'm already swamped with emails. But I will make myself accessible to someone who wishes to contact me one-to-one, and then, if I like it, then I will let them through the door. And that's what we allow it.
And swamp means 3,000 emails a day, and it's just impossible to have the time to even...
Of course. And that's what is so important to have a tool like this, who allows you to manage your relationships. So it's a fine line between having privacy and being accessible. And we can have both through a tool like this. And plus, also, you have your own profile, where you can make visible to others all the other groups that you are supporting, for example, and include a link to their web pages. And you can make your bio available and your interests and such. And that's what it makes it so valuable, because when someone contacts you and you never heard of them, who is this Douglas? Well, you go to that page of that person and you see the picture, you see the contact information, you see who have referred you into the group, so you establish the relationships of trust. Oh, you're a friend of Michael Linton. Well, you should be all right then, because Michael is a friend. You see?
So every single currency in this will be traded on eBay, for instance.
Okay, so I think the nuts and bolts of this can continue to discuss. The point that I was trying to get into is, say there's a currency, A and B are people within one regional currency, and they've found that, okay, they've got their own clientele, they interact amongst each other. Now, certain people in the public don't necessarily accept these for whatever reason, it's not understood by them or whatever. They've got a currency here that is more acceptable to the public, or to another different public, okay, another community or something like that. So there's a currency in between that these two can interact with, because they don't interact with one another. Find out what other type of currencies, and that's where I see, for instance, the Liberty Dollar, because its current widespread acceptability could be one of those currencies. It could be something else, something based on some other commodity that's very valuable by people. That's what I want to suppose.
And it could be the US dollar or the euro.
It could be, if it wasn't debt-backed.
It's got nothing to do with the effect that I get by buying it from currency system B, getting the US dollar, going to C and selling it again.
The problem is that, of course, it's manipulated by another group. The US dollar or many other currencies are artificially inflated.
Public acceptability is the key, and the US dollar.
If you do it all quickly, risk is minimal.
So I apologize for being a hit and run expert.
It is the local electricity distributing company, and its profits after tax this year amounted to $14 million.
You know,
14 million.
The town of Messina, I used to live in New York, and I remember about 25 years ago, the town of Messina collectively, I believe they bought up the electric company.
Yep.
They collectivized it, and they cut their costs tremendously, and they raised the pay of the employees. They did something related to what you're talking. I was amazed that they were able to do it. I don't know if it's still going on or not, but
Well, this
a long
particular
time ago.
one used to be partly a municipal trading department and partly a power board.
It's a town in New York.
In New York?
Yeah, New York State. I think that's what it is.
Yeah. There was partly, can we go on? Yeah.
Whether those local currency gets spent and how it gets spent, and I mean, if the contractor wants the job needs 10%, then, you know, there's.
But the effort, it was
There's one more little explanation about a lending institution and lending money, okay? Right now, you go to a bank, very simple, you borrow 10, banker says 10%, you're gonna pay back 11. He loans you 10. The other one you gotta get from somebody else who borrowed something. If you hustle and you make it, he's not gonna make it. Now, if at the point of the money creation, now, the money is backed up by the asset all the time. When we sign our signature on that note, then the banker issues the money. So at the same time he issues the $10, he can also issue the other dollar. Put it into circulation to pay the administration of the bank. That's that's what I call a service fee on banking, which totally replaces interest, and all the administration needs is that 10% service fee, and they're living abundantly.
That's how all other businesses let fee for service.
Yeah.
For cost. Why should a bank have this? Wouldn't you like to be a contractor and just be able to say, I'm going to build your house and the money just compounds forever, you know?
In Calgary dollars, 4 years ago, we stopped issuing any money to ourselves because the framework doesn't exist that can be justified to issue any money to our own system.
What do you mean by the framework?
Exactly. What do you mean? Like Paul Glover set up 4 Ithaca hours for each person that joins, but they've changed it over time, and it has fluctuated. So 4 years ago, we just stopped and said this has no basis, and that's what we're trying to create now. Because if we can put that in place, then we're generating money, and all this talk about sustainability and all of that can happen. But right now, we don't have anybody that's working on the details of circulation and issuance that can justify doing that. So that we're trying to do that with Strohelm Foundation now, and maybe something useful will come out of it. But it's complicated as heck because it's not monetary. It's mostly psychological is my impression of it. For example, our city takes Calgary dollars for transit and rec tickets. That overnight changed the value of the Calgary dollar in the public's mind in my town. And so we're trying to incorporate a whole lot of psychological components into that. And as soon as we figure it out, then we're really printing money. Right now, we're just giving money to participants.
Try rinse.
Well, no, we're just giving it out to other people, and we're not benefiting ourselves, other than in the $1,000 or so that we earn ourselves in the services that we do. That issuance framework, I want to do that because then we're actually sustainable, profitable. But we can't do it now that the city takes it. They want to know what our issuance framework is.
That's really an interesting thing.
I'd like to remind people that this is very close to one of Bernard Littau's scenarios. Remember his scenario in the book, in The Future of Money, the second scenario of balkanization. Mm-hmm. So it's very similar.
It has also to do with the Pareto principle. Pareto is associated with economics because Wilfrid Pareto was the guy who coined that, who pointed that 20% or 10% of the population has, let's say, 95% of the wealth. It's a physical principle. As soon as you have a granular item, it can be money, it can be matter, that has aggregating properties, then it will aggregate into this distribution. You have thousands of natural examples. For instance, if you take water, it pours on the land. Now, if you count all the streams, whatever their size, a stream could be like a big river or a small stream, okay? And you will end up with 5% of the stream, the big river, carry 95 or 99% of the water. Because it aggregates, it accumulates, okay? You take the matter, let's say we divide the universe into small cubes, and you will see that just, let's say, 1% of these cubes have 99% of the matter. Same thing with money. It has to be disconnected with interest. It's not about interest. Let's imagine that there is a money, there is no interest, just, flat money. But if I have more money, I have the power to generate processes that will bring me more money. Pareto principle. So same thing with the neighborhood. If there is some kind of aggregation law that works, which is aggregations of values, for instance. I'd rather be with people, with my neighbors, if we have to take care of our children, for instance, or stuff like that. It's strongly connected to values. It's more likely I'm going to move into a place like that. I'm not a racist or whatever, but I will tend to look naturally for these people, and this aggregation will happen. And so this is how, social patterns get designed, but no one has the will to be segregative, even with people who are not segregative at all. Just by natural behaviors, this is like an emerging pattern. So I just wanted to share that with you, to have this awareness of the emergence that occur by a lot of small, interactions, individual interactions, and this is what comes out.
But that presumes no change in the unit.
No, it's not. You're raising a very important thing, because the liberals, for instance, they say, you see, there is a natural social injustice. There's no way we can deal with that, because whatever monetary system we put, even with the demurrage, the Pareto principle will happen and the richer will get richer. Think even of a gift economy. Let's take the scientific community, for instance. The more you give, the more you are recognized. So you become a hub, and you accumulate recognition. And even this guy here is being very talented, but the sites are converging to me because I've published a lot of stuff, and I became a hub. And we are look at this meeting here. There are hubs. I mean, I'm not saying they're bad or whatever. It's just that naturally, our social patterns are converging to hubs. So what I want to point out is, let's be aware of that, because these processes are very new. We discovered them a few years ago by computation. You take a model of a population, you make lots of iterations, so each individual item is interacting with some set of very basic rules, and then you see what emerges. So regarding social justice, money, whatever, it's all connected. First, I think we need to have the awareness of that, and computing can help also. These are technologies that help to understand what's coming out of iterations that we're not individually aware of, so that generates an emerging model which generates consciousness of that. And if we have the consciousness of that, then we can think of processes that can correct that can put balance.
You can say, I don't want to go there, so what are the things we do to make it?
Exactly. You see? So then we can make corrections in our individual lives, but also in our social laws that we decide,
So that's the optimistic view of the possibility of change within each unit, and so that becomes one of the things to shoot for, is that unit by unit change.
Right, and one of those processes, right, is the creation of a currency that has an incentive to cause desegregation. And that's one of the things you can do. I mean, clearly it seems like you have to be able to do that. I don't know how you would do that, but that's exactly the point. Because right now the incentives are what we know they are. We can make different incentives for what they are.
That's the fascinating thing about the way these are all developing. We all have dreams and needs and targets that we want to meet with these currencies. Therefore, I take time dollar, which meets many of the things I want, and our community shapes it to meet even, the agenda, if you want, the needs of our population. And I think that it's, the natural shift, if I understand it, of people to be with like-minded people and to form groups and families and to build on each other's creativity is normal. But if you don't have basic human rights, basic human needs met, then that becomes almost a negative, because you're going to get those who have probably separating from those who have not. And therefore, maybe for me, the part of this currency that is important is the part which will help to correct that. And that's just one of the tasks, that can be done with it. But I think for me, it underlies everything. And if we want structural change, that has to be part of the agenda.
We could be doing some sort of equity accounting for the work that they're doing, and build organizational equity that recognizes what they're doing. Personally, I believe in stewardship, and that people, when they do work, they develop the capacities for stewardship. So I believe that equity accounting is very necessary for moving forward and keeping that knowledge intact. But so if the it could just be thrown as
equity accounting. I have the commercial understanding of equity as your asset less your liabilities.
Time-based equity accounting, so that if say just Chris Lindstrom's work if a bunch of it was volunteer, then, or even if he was paid very, very little for it, he could be paid either difference between that and market rates. I go to market rates, so I'm not much of an hour guy, but the concept that we begin to evaluate our work as an organization, as a global organization, as national organizations. But I can help with, that's one of my backgrounds is accounting, that I could help bring time-based accounting for equity to what this international project is. It's got to be thrown as an option because it has so many values within it that people wouldn't be able to discuss it in a short time. But I could offer that as a tool. It's equity-based.
Yeah, we have two aspects of the database. The one that have been explained is a social networking tool, but we also provide accounting online transparently of the contributions that people do. The acknowledgements can be measured in $10, can be measured in thank yous. Originally have been mentioned. Thank yous is our currency. One thank you is equivalent to $1 saved because of the discount or the friendly favor that you receive. So if I sell you this jewelry and it's $50 and it says, oh well, you're a member of the same group, it's $25 for you. So you say, you give me a check for $25 and you go online and you send me 25 thank yous. Your account goes minus 25, my account goes up 25.
And you can also do it 100% of thank yous.
Yeah, I can too, and the people who have a lot of thank yous accumulated, is if you have over 1,000 thank yous accumulated, we sell at 100% in thank yous. We cannot afford to do it to everybody, but to the most generous people who want to reciprocate. And that is very important accounting because it cuts off one of the biggest barriers of being generous, especially in the United States, is the fear of being taken advantage of. People are far more generous naturally, but they have been taken over by scam artists, by parasites, and they don't want to support. It's very common to say, oh, you want money, but you're going to get drunk with it. Let me buy you a hamburger. Just someone asking you in the street. It's a very common thing, but you don't have the time to walk the fellow to
to say that we live in an energy-addicted society and that all of us are part of that addiction and that we're all trying to sort out our addiction, But I really believe it's so important. And what I
we want to leverage our contributions. We want to be as efficient as we want with the limited time that we have, and we don't want to waste it on someone who is a parasite.
What I'm offering, though, is a combination of both capital, which is decision-making, and so that you build equity, you develop shares within the organization, you become voting decisional. That's the rotten egg, because most people don't want to even look at that. But then that would be combined with thank yous, where you're actually returned or compensated for some of your effort. But I'm just offering it as
You say you are in accounting, so there are two very basic processes in accounting. One is the everyday operations, the cash flow. Yes, what I'm providing is that, and accounting. So you do a favor, you do a contribution to the group, there is a way for the group to acknowledge you in a complementary currency. And you choose what you use. You can make your own, or you can use $10, or you can use, in Tucson they use Tucson tokens, which is their own. You can create your own. The Schumacher, you can call it, you've got so many shoes for your contribution. Now, what you're talking is something else. Equity building.
It's organizational.
Yes.
It's actually
you're talking about two things.
It's building the table.
Yes. And that one, the best proposition for that was done by Arthur Brooks from the. And I have an extra copy of his contribution with me. It's packed already in my luggage, unfortunately.
Great. No, but this will be in communication by email.
Arthur Brooks proposed it, and we decided already in a meeting yesterday with Margaret and with Bernard was there and Tom Greco, and we decided to support that proposal. And basically, it's using it's a very clever way to do it. You get acknowledged for your ideas. You get acknowledged. Let me have it here.
I'm the type person, I have to see something. I have trouble with concepts. Like somebody explains a LED system to me, for example. But if someone can say to me, look, I have a store and I've got 20 pounds of potatoes and I needed to buy knife to peel them. I went over to the store, I didn't have to borrow my money to get that. And they showed me the knife, and they came to the, I can understand that readily, but you get into conceptual stuff and I have trouble with it. But do you find you're able to make clear examples for people? You can show them like this store or this bank or whatever the case might have been. Instead of having them pay interest on this money, you do this over here in exchange for that, and this person doesn't pay out 7% or whatever. Are you able to make those demonstrations very...
Well, I live in a very small rural town, and I network very effectively. And it's really interesting how networking actually leads to some pretty interesting things.
Oh, I'm sure it does.
We were approached at one time. The local daily was doing a little tableau, and it was called financial literacy, and they'd seen something about the let system, and so the editor of this little tabloid came to us and said, we want to include you in this. So you had to buy so much space and then you got some space free. And I said, thank you for asking us, but sorry, we don't have a budget. And he said, who are your friends? And I said, well, go to the mayor, go to the business promotions people. They will speak for us. And he came back and he said, I got you a page.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which was great.
Yeah.
And then I had to fill it because my editor was away. My newsletter person was away. And so who had to do it? And this has to be done well and so forth. So
and you rose to the challenge.
And guess what I did? I said, so-and-so could write a little bit about that aspect, and Chris could write something about that aspect, and so forth. So I got about 10 or a dozen people writing bits, and then I put it together so that it had some sort of cohesion. It was brilliant. It was brilliant. And they, there was variety of expression and the different facets like a diamond. And it was in our local paper, and it was, and it gave examples. And
you used classical delegation, which is something that few people make much use of. But it's there, and it's interesting that it was a necessity that sort of drove you to it. Learn from it, and next time when you're wanting something done, you draw on the previous experience and the previous participants, and bingo.
And being you can, from this account, you can say that everybody has put in, you can withdraw type of these Calgary dollars, and at the same time, the other money is still there. They could be used as long as people are not going wanting to redeem the Calgary dollars. But if they every time they use Calgary dollars get the 5% rebate, they will be eager to use the Calgary dollar before they use the Canadian dollar. And this would mean that you could, when the business firm had them, they could pay with them to other business firms, or so. And it would be.
I really like the Salt Spring model because that's basically what they sell the currency. They make it beautiful so that people will buy it for cash regardless, and then they put that so they have $90,000 sitting in the bank, right? We didn't do that. We have no cash. We have $45,000 of Calgary dollars circulating, and it wouldn't take long to build up a cash bank account to back that through a campaign. But I need to know I need to understand the reason you've just given me for doing that, because I don't fully, this conference is really getting me thinking around how to leverage that and integrate it with cash, because we've talked about everybody talks about backed currencies and stuff, but I've never had a real motivation to undertake the work, the considerable work.
If you do it in this way, you can, these Calgary dollars are backed by the dollars in the account.
Which kind of defeats why we started our local currency. So we're a bit hesitant, but I'm seeing that we want to do that.
You get an increase in the total amount, but because the dollars in the account could also be used
but-
among people.
Don't you get more of an increase if it's not backed? Because if it's backed, there's something not circulating. And I mean, it's exactly the same thing. We've never backed it because we see it as
fractional reserve banking, you know.
Yeah.
Usury.
Keep the usury bit out.
Go right back.
I mean, the whole idea was
circle.
to have new additional money on top of what's already there and have it better, and it was better for two reasons. One is it could only recirculate and re-enrich the community every time it's circulated, and it's beautiful. And we also, even though I happen to love especially the 8th hour note, this is one of those grand new ideas. We hadn't thought, it was happening, and we acknowledged it, but we hadn't thought of making it beautiful to bring in outside money outside our local economy that would help our operating expenses. So
And this pair's suggestion, I think, would need to be new money. We wouldn't be asking Calgary Dollars members to contribute cash. I'd be going to people who, socially minded people outside the community, and saying, we want to create a fund that can be used for the support of local currency, but for bigger economic education and projects. And so that money isn't even really backing the Calgary Dollars anything other than psychologically. I wouldn't want to start cashing it in or, getting into that. But it uses that base of the legitimate $40,000, $45,000 in Calgary Dollars to get some cash and start issuing, Salt Spring issuing a bond to get their community radio station going, or to buy a windmill. We've got a CSA farm and we could use some cash, but it's an expansion on the local currency.
Well, it's what Disney World does. When you go to Disney World, you don't use.
You just changed which kind of color paper you use.
But the money, but people come in from outside the area and they transfer the money, and the wealth stays there.
And the wealth stays with Disney. And what we're talking about doing is, instead of having all the profits leave and going to Walmart and McDonald's, we have new capital coming in from outside, investing it in productive activities like farms and massages and whatever, and also having our own homegrown money going round and round, but getting infused and supported by new money coming out, which hopefully could more than balance the profits going out to the international nasty corporations.
I would like to.
That we take that effort to keep that there, because it's so easy to say, in terms of efficiency, or instead of.
We've generally found with the experience of a let system which gets cooking, is that what emerges is an in the street randomized here. Oh, hi Joe, how's it going?
Absolutely.
And that, whereas last week we walked past each other with eyes averted.
That's it.
Now it's just identity,
Well, the
relationship.
infuriating thing in Britain at the moment is we're putting people in touch with each other through the time bank. And of course, next time they say, next time you want a lift, just give us a ring. And they're carrying on outside the time bank, which is brilliant, because it's doing what we want to do. But for our statistics, it's good.
How can we tell what's happening?
Exactly, tracking what's going on. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Your major points, and
There are no major points in this kind of thing.
There
It's America.
really were no major points. It was so rich.
This is an
My God, is that all you had from this?
This is, I wrote the narrative.
Tired now with your.
No, I'm not
You
at
just
all.
closed your eyes, go like, just pick a thing and talk about it.
Say the first thing that comes into your head.
Yes.
I would like a closing remark, though, just to put it, well, I think it puts a little bit. Jean-Francois. I would just say, just that he said about the need for compassion to open possibilities, and I would say that we could say that our creation of alternative or complementary currencies is to open that compassionate space, and that's certainly one of the things that they can do, is open that compassionate space.
that's a very nice phrase. Open up that compassionate space. Thank you.
The wide range.
You don't work?
The fun you're having.
Would you like
You're not doing anything related to what you wanted to do, and you lose very the intensity and the passion, you become a bureaucrat almost. Is that, how do you protect yourself from that?
Techies who care. That's basically to define. Techies like you are a software developer who care.
Techies who care. Okay.
Howard Dean people were there, the meetup people were there, Move On, True Majority, they were all there. But that was half of the conference. So electronic voting was discussed about how to reinforce our democracy with real tools, and it was exposed also the scam of the private electronic voting that is being forced into us right now. But there are real ways to do it. And Australia is using it, for example, and we had real examples of how to do it properly. That was half of the conference. The other half was dedicated to social networking tools, how people can interconnect. And on the whole conference, there were 139 social networking tools, including Friendster and LinkedIn and Orkut. All those were exposed. Of all those, 138 were for profit, and one was non-for-profit, and that's the one we use, the Living Directory. Yeah. It's an open source design, and that's the one that the conference uses. Because ultimately the other ones, yes, they promise you the sky, and they have very fancy interfaces. They spend millions of dollars to make the interface very sexy, but if you read the small print, they own your information, and the ultimate intention is to market the information to the highest bidder. So in this one, you own your own information, and you have control of it.
Just another clarification, if you still have keys, please, we have 20 minutes, so 5 minutes per group. I'll keep the track on it.
All right, so basically we went over promoting to new audiences, targeting new audiences, and need for outside support, political action. And we talked extensively about, well, that these issues are definitely necessary. And we really basically came to consensus that going to local authorities and local officials is extremely important in getting this to work. And approaching them in a way that's not threatening, but that we're inviting them in. And that it's also necessary, to go and target different people that you can't. You're not going to get everyone on board, but to focus on specific officials in your municipality or specific politicians that you think might be supportive of this, because getting that part of society into this whole issue is really important. Let me see. Went into a lot of different issues that got off the subject a little bit. Sensitivity to community. Right. Yeah, I mean, we also talked about getting people who are sensitive to the needs of community and who are involved in different organizations in the community.
Find out what their needs are and show how the local currency can address those needs.
Yeah.
Are there other members of Group 1 who'd like to augment the report?
And also the articulation of how to evoke the responsibility of common people, not only people that have the needs, because that's very easy to have people that are in bad situation, but it's not so easy to invite happy people, as said Helen. And we should try to find ways to demonstrate to happy people that they are also in danger, the same as the unhappy people. Something more like that. Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you. Group 1? Yeah? Group 2. Who's reporting from Group 2?
Group 2 concentrated on tools, on...
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I just throw one more thing about Group 1?
Yeah.
I have a friend who's president of something called the International Council for Health Freedom. It's an international organization which is, the intent is to protect people and get them to organize politically so they can both advocate for legislative change and or / protection in the event they run into problems. I'm saying this only because Paul mentioned to me yesterday that he's running into trouble with the state because the insurance boards are coming down wondering what they're doing with health insurance and are they infringing upon their turf. And this guy, the website I mentioned is ICHF. It's an already existing group of people that are working with like homeschooling, immunizations, environmental issues, and things of that nature. And you're able to make a call, for example, and they might get something written up in a magazine which goes out all over the world, and or could mobilize support on a state level to put pressure on legislatures if need be, to make them aware of the fact that we're doing this in our community and we're getting harassed by the FDA or this group or that, and we want you to do something about it. And it's a pretty powerful group that might be a resource for people.
Thank you.
If you need it.
Sergio?
Yes, our group number 2, we met over here, and the people who participated into the group identify themselves. Okay. What we did, we discussed what are the tools that are already available on the internet and which ones we can use to help us in our purpose. We discussed about 5 or 6 tools. I will include briefly the ones that we thought that were appropriate. Wiki page is a document on the internet that people can edit online, and therefore it's estimated that the Declaration of Independence was written this way, we would have celebrated 4th of July 2 years earlier, because it's much easier to redact the document that way. If that's technology available on open source, that's the other thing that we discussed, that open source is better to use because it's aligned, the intention of open source software is better aligned than proprietary software for our intentions. Other tools that we discussed, Mary Beth wanted a tool to teach her students about community currency and complementary currencies. And she was provided with 2 examples, and if someone else has other examples, Agnieszka helped her out, and Alan has another project examples. If you have some that can be used for teaching, she can implement them right away.
Can I ask a question there? It would be nice to have a collection, a library, a list of these tools that would be given to us all.
Yes, it could be made available, I imagine, to you, Chris.
This kind of thing, I think, should be part of what ends up happening with the local currency news that the Schumacher study wants to keep going on.
Okay, so
I'm hoping that we can coalesce a lot of this stuff into there and then have that as a mouthpiece for this whole movement to be able to go forward.
I can send you a written report about the tools that we have. The other one, championed by Douglas, is the green map, and it's a very clever idea. The group concluded is to put ourselves into green maps, since we are so highly aligned with the ecological movement that is driving the green maps. For those who don't know, is through a city or a region, and in some cases some states, like Rhode Island, a small state, you can find in the map all the green groceries and all the cooperatives and all the businesses and individuals who are aligned. So it's very easy to find each other. And he committed himself to be the liaison to find what green maps are in the process of being mapped right now, and to connect with the local currencies projects in that region, so they will be highlighted into that particular green map. And of course, it will be also a reciprocal thing in which we can use, the green map people can use our expertise in order to organize themselves as well. The other networking tool that we discuss is the social networking tools, how we can find each other when we don't have this incredible luxury of being eye to eye and pressing the flesh together. And we discuss what is available, and I offer to champion the project, which is to do an online directory on those who want to be interconnected. I already started for my own use. The Access Foundation is using it too. Tom Greco, are you here, Tom? Okay, Tom Greco is using it too, through Green, and Margaret with the social money partially is using it. Several people here are using it already.
Yeah, I'd just like to add to that I found in my own experience that I had been put into a system such as you describe, and I'm wondering about the control of the system, because I found that the system operator went into my webpage and then contacted some of the Schumacher speakers and made it sound as if I was inviting those Schumacher speakers to be a part of it. And so I am personally very, based on that experience, I'm very concerned about the integrity of the system control, and that it be nonprofit and very transparent rather than linked with for-profit. So that I just want to throw out that caution, because I have actually had that experience of misuse of such systems.
Do you recall how long ago was this?
Well, if you'd like to talk particular about how that was done, I'm glad to answer. That was done a year ago.
You are number 273 in the network.
And I'm no longer there because I requested that I be taken out of the system.
Okay, let me explain you a couple of things, and I'm glad that you brought this up. The one who did that, it was myself, and I no longer have the ability to do that.
It was misuse.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that. It was when someone brings people into the network now, you have to do it yourself. Some people were not very familiar to using networking tools. We still have that circumstances, like Margaret Kennedy is not, she doesn't have the time to learn how to get into the online. She have not logged in, for example, but she asked me to enter all the network when we did the social money. So I had the ability to be a coordinator for the group and to enter the people. In your particular case, and I apologize for it.
Major.
Yes, and I understand that you got hurt, but
my organization was hurt. My name was used without my knowledge and inappropriately to solicit Schumacher members to join a system that I did not.
Yes, how it works right now is we didn't have a process in which I can say, I noticed that you were part of this group and you may wish to be interconnected this way. Now that's the process. And thanks to this, to your observation that this was unethical, then we no longer had the ability, nobody in the system has the ability to do what you just described. Since then, we have over 200 groups interconnected this way. One of the most fervent, if there is someone in the country more concerned about privacy, is Frank Horton from the Positive Futures Network with the Yes magazine, and they are using the system. And for your satisfaction, you can go and talk to her. I can guarantee you that if you spend the time to see how this works, you will be satisfied that the propriety of inviting someone in is observed. This is like a dance. I can invite you to dance a tango with me, and if you say no, we are not going to have a dance. At the same time, you can invite me to dance, and if I am too busy, I will politely say, I'm sorry, my leg hurts, I'm not going to dance right now.
But
and it doesn't happen.
other people, it wasn't one-to-one, other people were asked to join the system using my name and my Schumacher Society lecturers. So it wasn't a one-to-one. As system operator, if you identify yourself as that, I didn't identify you, went into my profile, sent from my site to my contacts that I was inviting them to join this system. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm the wrong person to have been keeping time on that discussion, obviously.
Okay, what it was brought up is in the last conference that we had in San Francisco, dedicated particularly to social networking tools. It's the Planet Work Convention. It happened June 5 and 6 this year. And the other one was to utilize the internet for increasing our democracy, for democratic tools. So the meetup people, Howard Dean, Move On, we're all discussing how we can use the internet to mobilize and to increase our democracy, and also how to interconnect, how to empower the people. And of the 139 social networking tools out there, the one chosen by the Planet Work Convention was the Living Directory software to interconnect the group, because 138 were for-profit organizations, and this is the only one redacting open source with a non-profit. The intention is to actually interconnect people. The intention was aligned with the intentions of the group. Did I miss anything?
What is the name of the group? I lost it.
It's called, the network is called, it's called Living Directory.
Living Directory?
LivingDirectory.net.
Global domain naming. Yeah, we had a discussion. We didn't come to any real conclusions as a group as far as global domain naming. There was some good ideas that came up as far as how to, some possible ideas of how to possibly interact between the nations as far as our local currencies, but more details need to be about that.
The transitioner.org. If you want to follow up on any of that, that's where the primary discussion.
Transition.org?
Transition out. The transitioner.org. That's down for a class.
Can't hear you. Sorry. That will be on the transitioner.org. And this is an open space, collaborative space where anyone can come and put content, information, improve the information that's already there, or put new stuff there. It's extremely easy. It's an online editing collective tool.
Is there an ER at the end of transition?
Transition out.
Yeah, transitioner. Right.
It has a B on the beginning, which is why sometimes.
Group 4.
Group 4 voluntarily dissolved into Group 7, which was random.
Okay. Group 5. Group 6. Richard?
Yeah. Oh, that's 6 already. Okay. Well, we did macro and microcurrency linking and usury and interest. One member said that the concept of introducing the idea that local currencies are usury free helps people to understand the value of the concept and how it works. We had to talk about let systems and the lack of usually in a macro currency, the interest rate supplies a discipline to the system. If you don't pay back, you get charged. In the let system, there's no compulsive mechanism. And as a result, things go good at first due to energetic and enthused people. More passive users follow and take advantage of the system. It gets polarized into people that are in the black on their accounts and people that are in the white. And so it needs a mechanism of enforcement. Active people tend to earn too many credits and then withdraw. And I guess that's about it on that. We talked about the demurrage concept. To get interest is an incentive for people to spend money because their money loses value sitting in their pocket. If you go to an interest-free system, how do you get people to do that? We talked about possibly the values of a demurrage money system where it would lose value over time if you don't spend it. And there's various wrinkles to that. We talked about a Scottish demurrage example. One member brought that up, where it was, as I understand it, or maybe this came in later, but it was made so people that had too much of a positive balance were charged demurrage, and people that had too much of a negative were charged a fee, so you bring it closer to zero. We had introduced a Socrates axiom from Canada, two of them. One of them is usury is theft, and the other one is money don't have babies. Another member brought up some questions regarding the social perspective, religious and biblical perspective. In virtually all of the world's cultures and religion, there is a prohibition against usury. And of course, in the modern business world, the definition of that and what constitutes usury and what constitutes not usury, and where the ethical lines are drawn and where the economic lines are drawn is really a very great debate. It's one we sure didn't resolve it, but it's ongoing. One of the problems with interest in currency and confusing interest in currency is that 99% of the people absolutely don't understand the linkage. We talked about the Islamic position, and that Islamic economics is based on usury-free economics, but it's not against trade. And they have some things that are like usury, like interest, I should say, but the risk of the lender is split with the risk of the borrower, or there are other mechanisms so that one person is not just living off the sweat of another risk-free. One person brought up the idea that if there was a $1 issued as a money supply at the time of the birth of Christ, attached to 3% bond, much like the Federal Reserve System does to hundreds of billions of dollars. In this year 2004, if we had circulated that $1 as a money supply, we would now owe whoever was the holder of that bond $51 trillion as a redemption for that dollar. So that shows the impossibility of the numbers. There was a question about using time, Ithaca hours, and using the idea of requiring contractors on a project to use local currencies to bring that into circulation, but that has complications with contractors out of town that don't really stay in the community to spend their money. Let's see, one member, there was a discussion that started up around the idea that somebody needs to be working on details of circulation that can justify psychologically the use of the currency. It's hard to get people to take local money seriously as money. It's real money, And there are things that can affect that, like if the city will take that in taxes or fee for services, that affects it, that gives it legitimacy. But the trouble is that if they do that, then they tend to want to control, or at least want to audit. There's a sort of a chicken and an egg question there. In order to get legitimacy, you sort of need a user base. It gives you, a legitimacy, but you can't get a user base without getting legitimacy. It's kind of a thing. How do you get one and to get the other? Another way to get legitimacy is to link it with real money in some way. We talked about, towards the end of the discussion, about linking it with real money through banks, like putting money in banks and drawing local currency against that. But that has complications. It doesn't really replace the system and do the things we think we want to do, and it has the downside that it could easily become a fractional reserve system, which a lot of people would interpret to be a re-upping of the problem that we've got now. But yet, we also talked about that the idea also does have merit, so that's a discussion that's ongoing. Another member talked about how we make sort of a divided, sort of bifurcated, schizophrenic pitch about usury currency. On the one hand, we're saying it's just like money. You can do this and do that, but yet it's very different from macro money. And so you become sort of a mixed message, and without understanding how the plane between these two meet, people become very confused. There was another member that brought up the point that one of the things about local currency is that they take time. And, you know, like in Ithaca hours, those are time dollars. They assume that people have time. It takes time to shop with interest-free money, do a portion of shopping, and it takes time to manage a system. And one of the problems within the macro currency system right now is we become just too busy to have time. We are people that are running faster and faster, and the faster we go, the behind we get. And that leads partly to this cycle where there's this burst of energy to try to break that cycle. Well, here's a new thing. But the reality sets in where you get busy again, and people start to draw away from it. It makes a lot of things hard to sustain. We brought up the interest of the Bali, the Bali dual money system. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful example for us. But it's also true that those people have a lot more time than we do as a way of life, and that their free time is not idle time. You know, all of a sudden we got a lot of leisure time, so I'll just go watch a ball game or have a beer. Their free time is really built into the rituals and the religiosity and the nature cycles and the transitions of their life. And those are some of the contexts that we have to work on to make to make local currencies work. And basically, the other idea is that as long as we have a macro currency dysfunction based on usury, it's going to, in many ways, in terms of time, in terms of commanding economic space, in terms of wanting to shut out competitors, it's always going to push local currencies to the background. And in some levels, we're sort of kidding ourselves, thinking that we can go very far with this before we come into that collision. We have to address it at the get-go. One last thing, I wanted to put in a plug for Tom's website. I've cruised it myself. I haven't finished cruising. It's got a wealth of information on it. I've got a whole book of it in here that I haven't finished reading. It's usuryfree.net. And it's a really good place. It's the best place I've seen on the net to pick up information about it. And that's it.
Thank you.
You're going to get random sentences from what we did.
Thank you.
Cups are all made in China. In North London, 4 people wanted to be totally sufficient, so they started a Let's. It took them 3 years, but they were successful. Were they poor? Yes, in cash.
Yes.
So there
We have
silences as well.
Yeah. No, I've got to find the one-liners here. I could just read, no, it's just too long. Read George Lakoff on moral policy. We have instant community here. What about the geographical community? Time dollars is all about the promotion of geographical community, but we don't do it ourselves where we are, in our own neighborhoods. Time dollars doesn't put dollars into people's pockets. In trying to build community, we naturally look for sharing values, but it's more likely that we just share proximity. Networks cause aggregation of communities of values, which is easier, so we don't work locally. But local work is so much harder because we don't share values. Willingness to dialogue with those who don't share our values is the biggest challenge. We have to challenge ourselves. In Ithaca Hours finds a deeper disconnect between the true poor and the voluntarily poor. No one has a generational connection in Ithaca Hours with the actual poor, nobody who's working in that environment. It used to be that places and values did match. The Pareto principle was a big part of our discussion. The emergent systems which cause aggregation. If you have a 10%, if 10% of society wants to aggregate with its own kind, the whole society will naturally become completely segregated. But this assumes that there's no possibility of change. Nope. Even in the gift economy, there is aggregation. If you look at the scientific community, where it's a full gift economy, you still aggregate around the people who are getting the most attention, who've given the most into the system that people value. We can make a currency that counters we can make a currency that counters the natural aggregation by the Pareto principle. The task is to envision what kind of society we want. It has to happen from the ground up. A story of social injustice at this conference in this last 3 days. It occurred here because of an emergent principle. People naturally gathered around the other hub people. But there was a woman on crutches who could not find any answers to any of her questions simply because she couldn't walk fast enough to catch up. So, being able to view the emergent pattern and have a reflective process on what's going on is crucial to solve the injustices that occur not out of ill will, but out of the emergent principle. But of course, that person could have taken the responsibility to state the need publicly at the microphone. The victim consciousness. You do not believe your needs can be met, therefore you blame and persecute. To re-empower ourselves is to recognize our needs to build connection. Is to recognize our needs and build connection. We, as a group, are living in a ghetto mentality. We need to, and we revel in it. We are engineers building a bridge. We're all pieces of this bridge, and it's going to someplace unknown. Nobody knew when the Berlin Wall would fall, but there needs to be something there when it does fall. Whose responsibility is it to express need? Is it a we or an I responsibility? Victim consciousness is a good definition of poverty. And finally, creation of community currency is what opens up the space of compassion.
After 11, folks, so we're going to have to close this meeting, but if you'll send your reports to the office, Eric has taken on the revitalization of Local Currency News and that website, localcurrencynews.org. And it's been a lovely, lovely conference for staff and working on it and having it flower in such a beautiful way. And I just want to thank you all again for attending, for the work that you're doing in your own communities, which is what this is all about and makes this conference possible. So thank you so much.
And also, we were trying to get him to acknowledge you.
Oh.
Well,
definitely.
This is good. And Jen and Dana are here.